So Sean Strickland's coach, Eric Nicksick, appeared on Ariel Helwani's show yesterday, and he was hypercritical of Strickland's performance. Fair assessment in some aspects of what he said, because Strickland looked really bad in the fight. But I actually think he's downright betrayed Strickland with some of the potentially two-faced comments that he made, questioning Sean Strickland's motivations as a fighter. I don't think that your head coach should go public with these statements. If he says these things behind closed doors to you in a very serious heart to heart talk, I think that would be completely fair. But he's going to Helwani, a massive MMA media, and unleashing conversation points that I just simply think don't need to be put out there for the world to hear, especially after Strickland already getting his nose broken and dominated for 5 rounds. Now his coach is bad mouthing him, really throwing salt in the wound of Sean Strickland. I do not like it. I want to play some clips from this Ariel Helwani interview, and we can react to everything as we go through each of them. So first up, we're going to play a relatively sensible clip from the coach, and he's going to talk about what he made of Sean Strickland's performance. Let's play the clip.
Oh, it was just uninspired fighting to me. It just seemed like he was sleepwalking, you know. Yeah, it was tough, man. I was just trying to dig him out of it. Through the rounds. I didn't know if he was trying to collect data in the beginning or if it was just a slow start or what was going on. But as the rounds began to progress, I can just tell that it just didn't feel like he was in it the way most of the times that he is. So
This is a fair assessment. Strickland wasn't in it. He was unable to find his range against Dricus du Plessis. He was fearful of du Plessis hitting him with punches, and he shied away from pretty much any combination. He threw maybe a handful of more than two strike combinations throughout the entire fight. Mostly was jab, cross, teep, which Strickland, normally is effective doing because he's on the offensive. But with du Plessis dictating the pressure, Strickland backing up, unable to keep du Plessis off of him, and he got bullied. The way that you actually can potentially give Dricus du Plessis some trouble is you have to counter him inside of range by sitting on your shots and throwing power, forcing him to respect your power shots. Sean Strickland, not a very powerful guy, which is another reason that du Plessis becomes a nightmare matchup as he's just walking him down with confidence. Now, my issue is not with this assessment. This is a very real take from the coach of Sean Strickland, who's willing to be honest, but it's also something that we all can see with our own eyes. Most people have this same opinion. My issue is a little bit about this next clip. And I don't know, it seemed a little bit selfish. Like, oh, well, you're wasting my time. You're going to hear it, and then we're going to react to it. Let's play this clip.
yeah, it was tough, man. It was tough 25 minutes to travel all the way out there. And like, man, let's not forget this is a title fight, and I take these title fights very seriously. And just I don't know. I was just disappointed, man. I was disappointed with the whole entire outcome, the whole fight as a process. Just thought it was just kind of flat.
It was flat. That part is right. And he's fully in the right to be disappointed. What I don't like is like, oh, we're traveling all the way out there. It's a title fight. Sean Strickland was in this title fight and got beaten by Dricus du Plessis. It's easy to pile on the crap on Sean Strickland, especially because he's disliked by a handful of the community, or maybe a large handful. But ultimately, I think it's also Dricus du Plessis has an incredibly unorthodox and tricky style that Sean Strickland could not counter. Now questioning his motivations. Yes, he looked flat, but oh, we're going to travel all the way out there. This is a title fight. I take this seriously. Say what you want about Sean Strickland. He takes fights seriously, and I'm sure he's taking a title fight serious. He looked very nervous on the walk to the cage, and we know he was also dealing with a potential staph infection that I discovered earlier on last week, which we're actually going to get some confirmation from Nicksick later in this video. I think it's rough for me to be okay with a coach just blatantly kind of light. This is the light bad mouthing. Well, I traveled all the way out there for you. I went all the way out there for you. It's a title fight. I take these serious. Sean Strickland is the one in the fight, not Eric Nicksick. He's a coach. He's not in there getting punched in the fucking face. He doesn't have Duplessis throwing bombs at him and ripping high kicks. You get what I'm saying? We got more clips to listen to, but that's where it got a little bit testy. Now, in this next clip, he's going to confirm to us the staph infection and, what medication he was on.
It certainly doesn't help, but yeah, he had staph a couple weeks prior to us leaving. He was on antibiotics, but no, I mean, he looked great leading up to the last like week and a half of training. Traveled out there, his cardio felt fine, everything felt fine. So, of course, getting staph that at any point doesn't help the situation. It's not ideal, but that's to me not the reason why he felt flat.
So he doesn't blame the staph for why he fell flat, but he does have a confirmed staph infection, and a known side effect of antibiotics is a bit of fatigue, right? A little bit of a cardiovascular deficiency. Normally, athletic performance is dropped. And that's just for regular people that are going to the gym or maybe doing a casual Tuesday night jujitsu class. You're talking about a championship MMA fight of 5 rounds. I am sure for a fact it makes a difference. Like, yeah, Strickland may have looked decent in the gym, but as the antibiotics kicked in, more so as we got closer to the fight, him just ripping pads and looking slick for however many rounds is completely different than the effort that must be put into an actual fight against another person. I think that no excuse for Strickland's loss, but to go this hard on him with a guaranteed now confirmation of, yes, that was a staph infection, to now rip him apart like this too, publicly as well, behind closed doors, do whatever you want. I don't like where this interview is heading for Eric Nicksick, and I definitely don't like this next clip. Let's play it. Let's get to it. More. Let's listen in. If it wants to play.
And I think he needs to evaluate what he wants to do in the sport. If it's just to make money, then that's great. Let us know. I want to coach world champions. So my motivations are different. So I think that just to kind of show up and do that and not really back it up, just to me was just kind of uninspiring.
I mean, it's fair to say it was an uninspiring performance, but to now say, I want to coach world champions, making it all about yourself. Sean Strickland was a world champion. He beat Israel Adesanya. I have a hard time sitting here and just like, yeah, let's give the coach the benefit of the doubt. I think he's disrespecting Sean Strickland. I think he's disregarding Sean Strickland's run. You want to coach world champions. Well, you got damn close to having one. Strickland just fought for the damn world title. You know who Eric Nicksick is coaching this weekend? He's coaching Edmund Shabazian, who's a mid-tier middleweight. He wants to coach world champions. Well, he had a guy fighting for a title in Sean Strickland this past Saturday. And now this coming Saturday, he's fighting a guy that's kind of been on a 50-50 streak and turned into a bit of a busted prospect. I don't think that makes a lot of sense. Say, oh, well, I want to coach world champions. Like questioning if Strickland wants to be a world champion. He lost the fight to the better fucking fighter. I don't get why that's so hard to understand here. Like, I really don't get the lack of, even in a sense, empathy for Strickland's performance. Bro, Duplessis that good. He's never lost in the UFC. He got outworked. He got outdogged. He got outfought. Oh, but I'm questioning his motivations. I want to coach world champions. Well, outside of Strickland, outside of Ngannou's not even a UFC champ, but I guess he's the PFL champ. He's doing boxing now, though. Like Eric Nicksick has a handful of prospects, like Abdul Malik on the come up. But I just don't get it. I don't get it. Now, I think that this next clip is a bit more insightful from Nicksick, and I actually was glad to hear that he revealed what was the game plan for Sean Strickland. And I will, potentially criticize what I think of the game plan in a moment. Let's listen.
I wanted to interrupt Dricus's combinations. Dricus tends to have holes in his defense within the combinations. You see him leaving his hands behind. So in that kind of chaos there, that's where I wanted him to counter or try to create something in between the combinations. When the combinations are over, Dricus tends to have better defense, high shield, high guard. And then how do we attack it from there? So there was a number of things that we really worked on and drilled at honestly, just that didn't really get out of him in that fight. It just felt.
Okay. So I like the fact that he's talking of the defensive abilities of Dricus post combination are a lot better than during the combination. But I said this earlier in the video, you need to have somebody willing to sit in the pocket and throw power shots, and they also need to have power. Sean Strickland doesn't have power. He's kind of got to outdog Dricus du Plessis over 5 rounds to beat him. I mean, the fact that the first fight was as close as it ended up being now after seeing the second fight is impressive for Strickland, because I think 10 times out of 10, DDP outdogs him. And the fact that he went to a competitive decision in their first matchups, it's impressive, man. But DDP got better since then. Strickland maybe about the same. He didn't look great in the Paulo Costa fight. He's just outmatched. I don't think what I'm saying here is, yeah, the game plan, looking at it as just a game plan, right? Okay, here from the outside, third person perspective. Yeah, that game plan sounds awesome. But looking at who you have as the fighter to implement the game plan, I don't think it's optimized. I don't think Sean Strickland's a fighter that can pull that off. Who could pull that off? Maybe an Alex Pereira, somebody with real knockout power. But I don't think that's a Sean Strickland winning game plan. He has to outdog du Plessis over 5 rounds. He's not going to do that, especially not with the staff, which you can actually see on his left arm here. But it wasn't going to happen either way. I'm a Dricus du Plessis believer. I picked Dricus on the come up. I would consider myself a Dricus fan more than I'm a fan of Strickland. I don't know. I'm like a pseudo Strickland fan. I liked him at one point, but he's kind of gotten too outlandish for me. But I still got to stand up for him when I think his coach is disrespecting him. Now, this next clip, it's actually about Coach Nicksick questioning if he even wants to work with Sean Strickland anymore. This, to me, is not something that needed to be answered publicly. He chose to answer it publicly. Helwani chose to ask it, of course. Helwani's getting the clicks. It makes sense. I'm not blaming Helwani. I mean, we're doing a video about it right now. Let's listen.
I want to work with him anymore.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment that I would have to sit down with Sean and talk to him about, right? Like, where can my services be of help for you? I think as a coach, you get credit for things you don't do essentially as much, and you get the blame for things that you might not do as well.
So what you're hearing is a little hint that he's going to sit down with Sean and have a serious talk about what Strickland wants to do with his career. Kind of pushing the narrative that Strickland is just fighting for a paycheck at this point, but I would disagree with that. I think it's just Sean Strickland's crazy. And, he lost to Dricus du Plessis, but now everybody's jumping ship. Like, damn, they ride with you when you're winning, but they really do not answer the call when you're losing. And it's happening right in front of your eyes with a coach talking bad about his fighter who just fought for a belt and was a world champion. Ain't that something? The guy who beat Adesanya, riding high off that win to immediate low of lows with his coach, even contemplating not working with him anymore. Oh, well, I got to see where I offer him service. What? I'm not trying to rip on Edmund Shabazian, but dude, you're coaching Edmund Shabazian. I don't think he ever becomes a champion. You're coaching other guys that aren't going to be champions. Strickland was a champion, and he just fought for the belt. Is he that upset? Is he mad about not getting the fucking win bonus check? My God. Now, this next one is him more alluding to Strickland just wanting to, fight for money. Let's listen in.
In situations like this, where your motivations might change, and if that's the case, if his motivations have changed to something different, where it's like, hey, I prefer to fight for money or a paycheck, and it's not to be the best or be a world champion, then yeah, I think as a coach and fighter, we should sit down and have that conversation. And
wow, that right there, I don't like. Let's sit down and have that conversation. If your motivations change, he lost one fight, 2 championship fights now. And it's just jump ship time. Time to jump off ship. Are you still wanting to be a champion? You just lost for the belt. Do you still want to be a champ, or are you just fighting for money now? Because you just lost. I don't know. I have my questions about your motivation. Shout out to the Gorilla Mind. That's a disgrace. And shout out to the Zin. That's a disgrace. I don't agree with Nicksick at all here. Especially a few days after Strickland just lost for the title and got his ass handed to him. Now let's just throw salt in the wound and let's make it public. I'm going to go out against my fighter publicly. Your fucking coach is supposed to have your back beyond any reasonable doubt. They're supposed to have your back through all the bullshit. Eric Nicksick doesn't. He's there when the times are good. He's smiling with Strickland leading up to the fight. When Strickland has that belt from the Adesanya fight, he's there in the picture. When Strickland loses the controversial decision, or maybe I didn't think it was controversial rewatching it, but in the moment, a lot of people felt he was robbed. But then when he loses clearly, now that Strickland has really lost, because even against Cannonier, his most recent loss prior to the championship fights, a lot of people felt controversial decision. But when Strickland takes a real L, which he hasn't in a long while, a true definitive loss like he did here, ready to jump ship. He should retire. He's just fighting for money now. Where's his motivations? I don't think he wants it. That's a complete disgrace. That's a toxic coach. That's a narcissistic coach. And I actually think that's someone Sean Strickland should distance himself from. I'm not saying cut him off completely. Listen, you were my coach for a long time. I still have a lot of respect for you, but I think I'm going to go elsewhere. I think for Sean Strickland's career, if he actually is serious about turning things around, he needs to be reinvigorated and get out of his comfort zone. He is so comfortable at Extreme Couture. He's essentially team captain. He said it himself. I think he needs to go somewhere where he's not that. He needs to go somewhere and get challenged by other fighters. Maybe go to Kill Cliff FC. Maybe travel elsewhere. I don't know. Go to Thailand. If Sean Strickland really wants to refine himself and go for it again, then I think he needs to leave that gym. I actually think it would make more sense for Nicksick to continue coaching Strickland if it's just about paychecks. But if it's about a world championship, I think Strickland needs to look for knowledge in other places. Doesn't mean Nicksick's not a decent coach. That just means it's time for Strickland to expand his horizons a bit. And I think open his mind to new techniques. I think that'd be good for him. Now, Nicksick talks a little more about he wants the guys competing against the best, yada dee, yada do. Let's listen in.
If your fights aren't to be the best in the world and they're for money, then that's not really what I'm looking for. I want to compete against the best. I want to win world titles, and that's my main focus and goal.
He just fought for the belt and you're just throwing out he just threw a fight or something. What? It's like he's lost 3 in a row. He's lost 3 in a row now. Like, holy shit. I guess if he was in Adesanya's position, I would have a little more sympathy for it. But still, I don't like it being something done publicly. This is a conversation between men behind closed doors, okay? They don't have this fucking talk in front of the world on Ariel Helwani's show. Wow. Hey, it's given me content, I guess you could say, but for Sean Strickland's sake, I would rather this not be released to the public. And then his coach revealed something interesting because Helwani asked him, hey, so how is Sean in the gym? When he spars, does he take more chances? Let's listen.
I think he takes more risks in the gym. He tries new things and works on things that are different. So, funny because I was just with Pyle about 5.
So pretty much he's alluding to the point that Strickland is willing to try different techniques and go for it more in the gym without the risk of loss. Valid point because, as I said, there's no risk of losing a fight. In the UFC, he doesn't go for it. It's interesting, though. I honestly think it's just Duplessis shut him down. That's really what I think. I feel like Duplessis had an answer to all of Strickland's techniques, and he's just simply better than him. I don't think there's any game plan that could have changed things. I think Sean Strickland would need to be a different person to beat a Dricus Duplessis. Sean Strickland doesn't beat Dricus Duplessis. And now the final clip here is going to be Eric Nicksick really questioning Strickland's motivations to close out. Let's listen.
On a competitor and athlete that he's a decent competitor, but he's not a great athlete, right? So you have these attributes that you're trying to lean on. And then once that fighter begins to dissipate, you change the environment, your bank account gets more, you have a love interest now, you have all these things. So you kind of take that meanness, that edge off of you. So it's what are you inspired by? What's your why now? And those things will always change in a fighter. And you have to, as a coach, be good at adjusting it and making it, to where it's to your best abilities. And that's something I think we need to kind of sit down and talk about is where's his headspace at right now?
Even seeing Strickland hitting pads in this clip, you can tell that's not a guy that outstrikes Dricus Duplessis. But to the point that Nicksick was making, isn't that interesting what he just said? What's his why now? Because he had said Strickland is more of the fighter's fighter, right? He's not the great athlete. He's a good competitor and he's got a lot of dog in him. But he's saying now that he's made money, he's got a girlfriend, that life's going good, and maybe he doesn't have that same anger anymore to thrive at a high level. I don't think this is an assessment that needs to be made publicly. I think this could be a conversation between the two. Now he's gonna go talk to Sean Strickland about it, and the world knows as well. I guess I wish we could maybe just have a live stream of their conversation at this point. If everything's out there, let's just hear the conversation because I want to know what's said. I don't agree. I don't agree. I think that Strickland needs a new team. Strickland needs to get out of his comfort zone, needs an adjustment. I don't think he's going to make them with the same old gym, the same old crew, and a game plan that, yes, that's how you beat Dricus du Plessis, but that's how Alex Pereira beats Dricus du Plessis. That's how a power puncher beats Dricus du Plessis. I don't think that's how Strickland beats du Plessis. I actually don't think that's how Amavov would beat a du Plessis. I think Amavov could snipe du Plessis and land some big counters. Yes, definitely sitting in there and throwing while he throws, but he's got more range, right? Strickland, without the power, without much range, beating a Dricus du Plessis, nearly impossible. He could have wrestled. He could have this, could have that. Now, when's the last time Strickland turned into a wrestler in a fight? His early UFC run. Not now. He's a striker. First and foremost, he's a boxer with a little bit of kicking skills. That's the interview, guys. That's the rundown. Let me know in the comments, do you think that Eric Nicksick was out of line for being so public about this conversation, for really revealing the inner details of something that's going to be a conversation behind closed doors to the world on Helwani's show, and also throwing salt in the wound to Sean Strickland? I don't agree with it. I feel like most of you guys won't. I want to hear from you guys. So definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you all smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Daily content, daily live streams twice a day. So keep it locked in on the channel. I love each and every one of you guys, and I'll see you all later. Peace out.